Welcome back to the Oval with Dr. Gilbert and Jasmine.
So Dr. Gilbert is joining us here today. She's the GSRC director on the SUNY Oneonta campus, and she is also my boss. So I'm here to impress.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
So you all had a really lively discussion, and a couple of things I kind of wanted to talk about. First of all, Grammy night, this being for about 55 more minutes, Valentine's Day Eve. So it's an important moment, I think, for us in Black history in particular. So you talked a little bit about Beyonce, but I wanted to kind of go back to Ella Fitzgerald, who was the first Black woman to receive a Grammy. And so kind of connecting that legacy and why it was, I think, important yesterday, regardless of how many awards Beyonce won or didn't win.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to take some time to think about Lemonade as a project. I think it is probably one of the first, or one of the most important contemporary Black feminisms projects that we've seen recently. And I mean Black feminisms like connecting and centering the experiences and lives and concerns of Black women. And I think that she did a good job of connecting all of those experiences, right? And talking about the fullness of those experiences. So when you all talked about the performance yesterday, I think it was actually a really great continuation of the Lemonade Project, especially because when I talked about Black feminisms, I mean like original Black feminisms. Like
Ida B. Wells.
No, I'm talking about the Orishas, right? So I'm talking about the original Black women, African women's spirituality, and being really intentional about that. And especially on the Grammy show, taking a lot of time to focus, right? Now, the first time I saw Lemonade, I was like, baby, somebody has to really do you something if you go to your original goddesses, right? Like, you didn't skip Jesus and Mary, and you went, no, I need something a little stronger, right? But I thought it was really important because she centered our spiritual traditions, right? That began with us. So I thought that was important. I also thought, you know, I didn't watch the Grammys live. I heard just a clip of Adele. And what I thought, I mean, I think she was in the moment and quite taken by the moment, but I wasn't at all offended by her comment. I really think, first of all, let's look at the connection, right? So both of these women have written full album-length projects dealing with women's experiences and relationships, right? And what I liked about it is they were really honest and vulnerable, right? So like sometimes they don't treat you right, you know? And what I think was important about Adele is when she talked about empowering Black women in particular, right? I think that there is a tendency often to problematize Black women, right? If it doesn't work, whatever the it is. And I think that part of when she talked about empowering Black women, that was more about like, so if he cheated, that's his problem. Like, let's be clear, like there's nothing wrong with us over here, right? Yeah. And I thought it was also important that, you know, I think Adele's project was really emotional and moody, and Beyonce was owning all of the experience. Like, no, I'm mad as hell. And everybody's gonna know that, right? I think it was also really important that as a Black feminist project, she talked from a very Southern Black girl aesthetic.
Yeah.
And as a Southern Black girl from New Orleans, I really appreciated that the imagery, that the sounds, the colors all kind of tapped into that. And it gave a very powerful moment to kind of shift again what is center instead of making it marginalized. So the only final thing that I would say is I think, since again this is Valentine's Day Eve, I think it was really important that Beyonce's project Lemonade was very truthful and honest about finding the love of your life, being in relationship with the love of your life, and the fact that it's not perfect, right? So that I think that we look at these very powerful people, a powerful couple, and think like, oh, that's perfect, and I want that, right? But we don't think about the work that goes into it. And I think part of the beauty of Lemonade is that you can be honest, You can be vulnerable. Sometimes love doesn't always work out, but you know what? It can be redemptive. And so if there's any lesson for us on Valentine's Day Eve, hopefully it's that, right? So that we don't always look for this like fairy tale romance, but we look for a love that's pure and that's authentic, and that grows with us.
I agree.
That's awesome.
That was powerful.
Snaps all around.
Yeah.
So we wanted to ask you, because we heard you're a really big reader, and I see you reading all the time. So what is the last book you read, and like, just tell us a little bit about it.
So actually, the last book that I read was gifted to me by a colleague on campus, Professor Maria Cristina Montoya. Shout out to you. And so she gave me a book called Island Under the Sea by Isabel Allende. And it's a story about women of color. It centers women of color again. And it talks really about the Haitian Revolution, but from the perspective of one woman who is enslaved, one woman who is not, and really talks about their experience, and it tells their story. So each one,
Because I'm part Haitian, so let me just.
each one, you can borrow the book. I'll have it on my desk.
Thank
But
you.
it really captures each of their stories. In fact, the chapters kind of volley from one perspective to the next, and it was really powerful. And then talked about kind of this sisterhood amongst women of color. So whether they were you know, Haitian born, right? Or if instead they were Cuban, right? Just that connection, and then it ends in New Orleans, right? So after the revolution, like what happens to these two women? Great story.
10 out of 10 would recommend, I guess.
You know, I don't give anything a perfect score. I think the other book that I would recommend is it's the collection of essays by the Crunk Feminist Collective.
Oh my God, I read that for class.
And it's,
Yes.
I think, especially for those of us who are young and are trying to connect our Black feminisms to an actual Black feminist praxis, it's an excellent text to help us kind of understand what's happening in pop culture and why it's relative to our daily lives.
That's amazing. Thank you. So another question we have is, so it's Black History Month.
Yeah.
And we want to emphasize her story. So what does Black History Month mean to you? Like, what do you wish to see further in terms of Black History Month? And kind of like maybe like what you're working on right now, maybe like in terms of the GSRC, because I know we were working on a couple things.
Okay, so Black history is really important to me, specifically coming from New Orleans, where Black women really are the engine, right? So we're the arbiters of culture, we're the knowledge producers. We're not always given the credit though, right? There has been a history that there have been men often at the face, and women behind the scenes. And so one of the things that we have been talking about and working on in the GSRC is really standing in and living the legacy left to us by our foremothers. So even if you're not a woman of African descent, really there is a connection to that legacy. Because these are women who, so I'll talk a little bit about college-educated Black women, right? Because I think Jonathan mentioned that this is ideally a space that was not meant for us, right? Women, and particularly Black women, were not seen as the elite class, right? But if we study the history of Black women in higher education, these are really women who made a way out of no way, right? And so whether that was building the schools, I think Mary McLeod Bethune built what is now Bethune-Cookman College with $1.50, right? And so it's important, I think, for us to acknowledge that, but then also kind of pick up the mantle and take that forward. You asked me things that I'd like to see. I think I would like for us to really kind of be more conscious and intentional.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. We have to go, and we just want to say Thank you for coming on our set.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's so honored for you to have you tonight.
It's great to
thank
be
you.
with you.
Thank you so much. And I know everybody else is thankful.
Yes. I'll see
All
you
of great
tomorrow.
All right now.
Well, thank you again for watching and for all my lovely co-hosts and Dr. Gilbert. Thank you.